Lake Shawnee Amusement Park was nothing more than a whisper of what it once was. Hidden deep in rural West Virginia, its rusted gates stood crooked against the overgrown brush, defying time but surrendering to decay. It was said that the laughter of children once echoed through the park, but now only silence and sorrow lingered. To many, the site was a cautionary tale of greed and tragedy. To others, it was cursed, a place where the living had no business treading. For Emma and her group of urban explorers, the park was a challenge they couldn't resist. Armed with flashlights and cameras, they arrived under the cover of night. The air felt heavy, thick with moisture and an unshakable sense of foreboding. Above, the sky churned with swirling indigo clouds, their dark shapes rolling and twisting like restless spirits. "This place is seriously creepy," muttered Nate, his breath visible in the cold air. Emma smirked, tugging at her backpack straps. "That's the point. This is going to make for some amazing footage." The group stepped cautiously through the broken gate. Weeds and vines had claimed the grounds, twisting through the cracked pavement like nature's claws. In the dim light of their flashlights, the hulking silhouette of the Ferris wheel came into view. It loomed above them, a twisted metal skeleton against the night sky. Its once bright paint had long since peeled away, leaving it to rust and rot. As they drew closer, the wheel creaked softly in the wind, as if exhaling a mournful sigh. Emma stopped, raising her camera to capture the scene. "Look at this. It's beautiful in a haunting way, don't you think?" Nate didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the murky pond at the center of the park. Its surface was covered with a thick layer of green algae, but something about it felt wrong. He shivered, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. "Emma," he whispered, "do you feel like we're being watched?" Before she could respond, a distant creaking sound echoed through the park. The group froze, their breaths hitching. It wasn't the Ferris wheel this time. It was something heavier, deeper, like the groaning of a wooden beam under pressure. "Probably just the wind," said Chloe, the group's self-proclaimed skeptic. But even she didn't sound convinced. They pressed on, passing by the rusted remains of a carousel. The once bright horses were frozen in mid-gallop, their chipped paint and cracked eyes giving them a grotesque appearance. Emma knelt to inspect one, her camera capturing every detail. "Legend says a little girl died here," she said, her voice hushed. "Got caught in the machinery. They say she still haunts the carousel." "Cool story," Chloe replied, though her gaze lingered on the horses a moment too long. The air grew colder as they moved deeper into the park. The roller coaster's twisted tracks loomed like a serpent in the dark, its wooden supports splintered and crumbling. Nate paused beneath the structure, his flashlight beam cutting through the shadows. "Do you hear that?" he asked. They fell silent, straining to listen. Faintly, almost imperceptibly, came the sound of laughter. It was high-pitched and fleeting, carried on the wind like a distant memory. "Okay, that was definitely creepy," Chloe admitted, clutching her flashlight tighter. Emma grinned, though unease crept into her expression. "This is exactly what we came for. Let's keep moving." As they approached the old concession stand, the laughter faded, replaced by the sound of something dragging. It was slow and deliberate, like a heavy object being pulled across the ground. "Who's there?" Nate called out, his voice trembling. The dragging stopped. Emma swung her camera toward the sound, the faint beam of her flashlight revealing nothing but shadows. She took a cautious step forward, her heart pounding in her chest. A sudden splash broke the silence. They all spun around to face the pond. The surface, once still, now rippled violently, as if something had surfaced or sunk. "Let's get out of here," Chloe said, her voice barely above a whisper. But Emma was transfixed. She stepped closer to the water's edge, her flashlight illuminating the algae-covered surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a pale hand broke through the green film, its fingers impossibly long and thin, clawing at the air. Emma screamed, stumbling backward. The others grabbed her arms, dragging her away from the pond as the hand disappeared beneath the surface. "We're leaving now!" Nate shouted, his voice panicked. They ran, their footsteps echoing against the desolate structures. The air seemed to grow heavier, the shadows deeper, as if the park itself was alive and angry at their intrusion. Reaching the gates, they found them closed and locked, though they had been wide open when they arrived. The laughter returned, louder this time, echoing all around them. Emma fumbled with her camera, pointing it toward the source of the sound. Through the viewfinder, she saw shapes, figures of children, their translucent forms glowing faintly in the darkness. They stood among the rides, their faces pale and their eyes hollow. One of them stepped forward, a little girl in a tattered dress. She raised a hand pointing directly at Emma. The camera slipped from Emma's hands as the figures began to move closer. The group huddled together, their breaths ragged, their eyes wide with terror. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the laughter stopped. The figures vanished, leaving only the oppressive silence and the creak of rusted metal. The gates groaned open, and the group didn't hesitate. They bolted, not stopping until they were back in their car, the engine roaring to life. As they sped away, Emma glanced back. In the rearview mirror, she saw the Ferris wheel. Its lights flickered to life for just a moment, spinning slowly as the faint sound of laughter echoed in the distance. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps us out. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Tap the bell to stay notified whenever we post a new video. Thanks again and see you in the next one.